we're gonna open up for audience questions. So we're gonna have Ms. Reed walk around with the mic, and if you guys have questions, just raise your hand and we'll answer it for you. Don't be shy.
If there's no questions, I'll give you my script on the campus DS.
Hi, I have a question. So as students, do you ever feel like you want to look at your teachers and say, well, isn't it your job to teach me this stuff? Like, why am I going on my own and researching this? Isn't your job to teach me?
All the time. I hope I'm not overstepping here, but the biggest thing for me was that especially in math, that's another, math has come naturally for me in a few different areas, but for 2 years I've struggled. And I overcame those struggles, and it required a lot of me talking to my teacher. Even when we use those project-based learning skills or those projects that incorporated a couple different classes, I had to go to my teacher. But project-based learning over time has taught me how to learn by myself, if need be. Through these projects, you should learn everything that you need to learn, and that's definitely the end goal. But if you want to branch out and learn more, or if you need help filling in those gaps, learning those research skills definitely give you the materials that you need to follow through.
I definitely agree with Ben, especially in classes like math, where it can be harder to learn the content on your own. So this past year, I had a teacher named Dr. Schaefer. She's somewhere out here in the audience. Instead of doing like big long projects where we had to teach ourselves the whole entire content, we'd have maybe like 30 minutes at the beginning of class to explore how angles and the edges or the arcs of circles relate. And so finding the ways that they do relate and figuring out how the equations like truly do work helped me personally like memorize the content better. So even though it would be frustrating if like I couldn't figure out the correlation, it was in the long term better. And like I think as you get older and you realize that, it becomes easier to like just push through the hard parts.
We all, a lot of times, like for the beginning of class, we'll try to figure out on our own, and then the next part, or the next day, the teacher will tell us how to do it. And I think that just teaches you self-advocacy, which is probably a skill that I'll definitely need in the real world.
Personally, no, I don't feel like that. I prefer doing hands-on and actually learning for myself and failing forward, which is if you don't understand something and you make mistakes with it, you learn from them and then you move on, rather than learning off of a whiteboard and a textbook and a stack of papers and getting walked through it, because I don't like being walked through things. I like learning hands-on.
Well, usually I'm too busy to actually look at my teacher and say, should you be teaching me this? But no, not really, because I like actually being able to do my own thing and not having, just having someone telling me what to do and telling me that I have to do this. And we didn't really do that much in math. We only did it in literature, and we could choose what we wanted to work on. We could do something in math, but most of us chose something in science or reading or something like that. And we didn't really do PBL in math, and so we didn't really have to ask our teacher about equations or something.
When we first started PBL, I had gone through 4 years of elementary school, so I was used to the textbooks and the essays. So when we first started it, I kind of thought this is insane because I had to research everything and I had to figure it out on my own, and I was definitely not used to that. But it was really fun when I got the hang of it.
I like PBL. I don't like learning like textbook ways as much, but at the beginning of the year it was kind of crazy, just like Maddie said, because I was kind of like, we have to research this, we have to put this on a paper, we have to put this on a slide, we don't know anything about it. And then by the end of the year, I realized this was the only year where in literature class I wasn't like, do we have to write this paper again? Do we have to write this essay? And like, we got to have fun with it, and I like PBL a lot, so.
The question that I have is, you're talking about making all this stuff, being an art teacher. Were your art teachers involved with this and the making of stuff, especially using clay? Was it just a technology teacher who did the videos with you? Did you get people from the community to help you with doing videos and doing the green screen and so forth?
So one of the projects that I did in ninth grade, Kara remembers this, it was through the entire ninth grade class, and at the time there were probably 80 of us, I want to say. It was called the Beautiful Biome Project, and basically what it was is that it started in our art class, and we had to discover a biome that we were interested in, and we did an individual piece on it. The end goal of this was to basically have an ink splotch on a huge piece of paper and create something about a biome that's dying nearby, or about a biome that needs saving. We did the Woodman Fen, which is right around the corner from our school, and it's not a lot of people know about it. I didn't know about it until we started doing this project, but it's a really beautiful, there's walkways through it, there's trees everywhere, there's butterflies you've never seen before, but there's trash everywhere too. So what we did was we tried to raise awareness about it and get funding for it through this artwork. And that kind of combined with our science class, learning on why the trash was affecting it, as well as I think we tied in a United States history at the time, but it was also kind of community outreach and economics almost in the why it hasn't been affected or why there hasn't been a cleanup of it. So as an art teacher, there's definitely a lot that you can do, and it's very fun the ways that you can combine it with these other classes, especially the hard classes like math or science, and seeing the kids come out with these crazy ideas that you would have never thought of, but you can finally see.
The cancer PSA that Ben and I were talking about earlier, we actually had a professional videographer come to school. His name was Henry, he was pretty cool, and he helped us all learn how to use professional equipment, and helped us with our acting and with sound and lighting and all that. So we do have professionals come to the school, and in my architecture class that I took last year, we did have architects and artists come to the school and work alongside us for all projects.
So this is another project that just started this year in ninth grade. It was an origami project. So we had to, it was in art and math class, and we evaluated like how, it was called Mission to Mars. So the scenario we were given was that we all had to move to Mars, and we needed our things to be compact because our spaceship was small. And so we had to like create these origami structures that looked like houses or beds or different things that we would need to live on Mars. And one of the coolest things I think I did that year was an origami like expert, Robert Lang, who's like one of the hugest names in origami ever, came to our school, and like I got to give him a tour of our school, and he came and like consulted our models and gave us like new ideas and tips. And we had different origami masters like come into our class and like give us new folds that we could use when we were creating our things. So having art and experts like come in definitely does help.
Personally, I haven't really done that many projects with art except for like the economics project and some other projects. But with the project where we were learning about religions, some people from that follow those religions came and talked to us about them.
I think we have another question.
This has been a burning question for a lot of people. So you're stuck in that group with either your friends or even the friends. I think there are probably some slackers in the group. Okay, so what would be the most effective way that you or your teacher strategies for dealing and motivating those group members who aren't pulling their weight or aren't involved to the extent, or even bringing down the group? Maybe there's an example or something.
I think one of the best ways to do that is assigning people different jobs and like having each person just work on that part of the project. And also like when there's people that are hard to work with, it's sometimes we just conference with our teacher, like the group and the teacher, to help get us back on track.
I think one of the most helpful things that a lot of our teachers use basically in every project, they start to get, you stop using them kind of when you get older, but they're called collaboration logs. So at the end of every single workday, there's like a sheet that you evaluate not only yourself, but your peers, and you all do it as a group. So it evaluates you on your preparedness, how focused you guys were that day, how on task, how everyone's pulling their weight, and it's like a scale of 0 to 2. And so you sit down with your group for maybe for that's like 5 minutes of the class time, and you say, okay, well, I wasn't that focused, but I got focused after a couple reminders, so I get a 1. Or I think I was really prepared today, so I get a 2. And you do that for everyone in the group. So it's not only people like ratting each other out, but it's truly making yourself accountable, and it's keeping your other members of the group accountable.
I feel that if you're not collaborating well with your group members, first, you should acknowledge why you're not working well, and then you can talk to them and try to work on it personally, because chances are if it's just you and that other person, it might not just be them. And so you should also try to figure out what you could be doing wrong, and if through talking to them and working on it, that still doesn't help, you can go to your teacher because they're always there to help, and so that helps.
Well, sometimes we had a paper at the end where we filled out and we would say who wasn't working with us, and we would have a paper and we would fill it out and we would say how well we think we did, and then the teacher would fill out the other. We mostly did this in math. It wasn't really for PBL, but I think we could do it in PBL. They would fill it out, and you think how you would say how well you think you did, and how well you think your other team members did. And then if you didn't think your teammate or team member worked at all, you could put like not a high percentage for them of how well they worked with you, and then yeah.
When we did the ancient civilization project, now I was with a bunch of my friends, but even if they were friends, I could not do that 3 hours every 5 days a week for like a month. So sometimes we would split up and like split the work. Like my friend who's super techie, like he'd edit the video while we would work on the brochure, because we were all good friends, but we could not stay each other for that long.
In science, actually, we did a project where we all were put into groups and we researched a different kind of biome. And that was probably the hardest group that I had. But I had one of my friends and she actually had to go on vacation then. So I had to figure out how to work with other people, and sometimes we would argue about who would do what. And then we all figured out, like, nothing that we were doing at that moment was working for us, because we were all doing another job that somebody else wanted to do. So we all had to reset, like, the whole jobs and who did what, and by the end our project was actually pretty good.
We have one more question.
Hi, I understand that there's a lot of peer review that goes on when you're working on your projects. What was the transition for you? How did it really feel to really start doing that? When you have to work with somebody or watch what they do, and then you tell them, well, maybe not so much. Or somebody tells you, not at all.
So the biggest thing, this has happened a lot, especially in the cancer project, considering I was with a bunch of my friends. There were quite a few times where I can admit I wasn't on task, or I wasn't the most prepared. And having your peers come up to you and say, hey, you don't get that score, you know, you didn't do that correctly, it comes with criticism. In the same way that I talked about learning how to give constructive feedback and how to take it, you have to take it in the same way. So when you're filling out a log and someone says, no, you don't get that, you didn't bring 2 pencils unless you only brought 1, you know, you get a 1 today. And that's strictly because you're trying to have a almost professional relationship with them, if you're gonna air quotes. And that's, again, strictly based off just you talking to them and you giving them the feedback, trying to help them, not trying to hurt them. And a big thing that I think STEM did really, really well is since 6th grade, Kara can remember this, if we had a problem working in a group, we weren't allowed to go to a teacher and say, hey, I can't do this. They said, I want to see you work it out. So we had to go and we had to try and work it out with those kids, and we had to come up with a solution and compromise. If we couldn't do that end goal, we would go to our teacher, but they wouldn't get involved until we had tried everything we could. And I think that held us accountable for our actions and for other people's actions, and definitely transitions into that collaboration log a little bit more.
Especially learning not to take the criticism personally. Knowing that they are criticizing your work to help you. They're not criticizing you as a person. And we use kind, helpful, and specific feedback.
I think going off of what Kara says, the transition of learning that when they say, oh, maybe you need to work a little bit harder, we know you can, it truly is coming from like the best of heart, because all of you guys just want your product to like get the best grade and just be the best that it can be. So knowing that, hey, I probably could work a little bit harder and our project could become a little bit better, taking that criticism and truly applying it is sometimes hard, but it's worth it.
When giving criticism, it's sometimes hard, like to take off a point from someone because they're from a collaboration log. But when you think about it, if you don't do that, then they might not realize what they're doing wrong and continue to do it, and that could, later wreck up the process.